Welcome. I hope you're all having a great day today. This is going to be about Otter Creek, Florida. Now, before I get started on that, there's a few things I'm going to say up front so people don't keep repeating this. I know there's new ones coming on all the time. Is one, this shed is not my home. This is a place I go to get away from everything and be alone. I don't live in it. This shed I call my doghouse. So I do a lot of things out here as far as on here. And if a football game's on, my wife don't like football, so I'll come out and turn the TV on and watch football out here. But I do not live in it. I always get the question, is that your home, that shed? No, it's not. It's my doghouse. Another thing before I get started on Otter Creek, I do have dentures. I just don't wear them a lot on here or anywhere else because I get about 2 hours and I start gagging on them. And I've had 3 sets, so that's why I don't wear them on here. I do have them. So, no, why don't you have teeth? I do have teeth. Another thing about on here is I will get, even though I'm going to repeat this, I will get people that will say this. They will go, you want to be like Mr. H. And if you're from Otter Creek, you know who Mr. H is. I could say his name, I just want to try doing it this way. I never want to be like him. I never will be like him. And I will never act like him. And I do not hate the guy, guys. Get that through your head. I do not hate Mr. H, okay? Just because I have different opinions don't mean I dislike him. And so we get all that out of the way. And another thing, and I've had it before when I talk about Otter Creek, is the fact that people get on here and criticize me because I'll say something bad about one and I'll say something good about somebody the other person don't like and they get upset. I have the right to like who I want and who I don't like. Just because you don't like somebody don't mean I have to not like them. And a lot of this I'm saying is things that's been said. And believe me, I I don't have nothing against any of them at all. I do not have nothing against Mr. H. He's did a lot for that town. I just want to get that out of the way, and this is not a criticize the whole town Otter Creek. I'm very interested in Otter Creek, and the reason I am is I don't remember for sure whether I watched Mr. H at after he got to Otter Creek or he was going to move there. But I have a sister I haven't seen in years that live in Hastings, Florida, and I wanted to see how close they were. Then I got looking at pictures of Otter Creek and I loved it. I'm not going to move there. My age is 65. I just not going to move that far. And I haven't seen my sister in years because I live in Idaho and, she's clear down in Florida. So, that piqued my interest. And after that, I got hooked on Otter Creek. I don't live there. I never have been there. And this stuff is my opinions and only my opinions. It has nothing to do with individuals' ideas. If I live there, I know more. This has to do with the fact that I see what I see on here. Some's good, some's bad. But I tell you what, I'm envious of the people that live in that small town. They seem to be some really, really good people. I'm not talking about the ones that stand out. The ordinary people out there, I commend them immensely for what they do. They've had to go through a lot, and other people go through the same thing in other small towns. I come from a small town myself, a real small town. The closest town to, well, because I was on a ranch, the closest town to me wasn't even incorporated, and it said 22 people. The biggest town, and where I had to go to school at for junior high and high school, almost 50 miles away, which was called Arco, Idaho, which was the first city in the world to be lit by atomic energy. But getting back to Otter Creek and some people there, and I'm going to talk a little bit about, and it's really positive. Mr. H, and like I said, I don't hate the guy. I do not 100% agree with what he does. Anybody that agrees with somebody 100% is a fool. Because it's impossible. And that gets back a little bit to, I had this one person, I really wasn't criticizing Mr. H, but it was saying, a couple of things I questioned. Then I said something good about it, Mr. C, and she got upset. It was more like, and she didn't right out say it, is like I had a choice between Mr. H or Mr. C. I couldn't like them both or anything like that. Mr. C, I don't know anything about him either. I just like some of his videos. I've never chatted with him. I never had no interest to do a lot of what he does. He has interesting videos out there on mechanicking, okay? When you live about 50 miles away from a mechanic, even when you're in junior high and high school, you learn to do mechanic work. Even though dad worked for the guy, and then they tell you how to do it, you do mechanic work. Now, unfortunately, in his case, he does a great job as far as getting on YouTube and checking things out. But unfortunately, sometimes he don't realize the people on YouTube may do it the hard way. And I've seen some do some stuff that could have been done a lot easier. But that's him doing it, and that's me just looking at what he does. Now, I've never sent the guy any money, never will. But he's got a right to be on here and heard. Now, granted, I critiqued him on a couple of deals, and as far as I know, and I tried to write on there last night, but as far as I know, he's got it so nobody can see my messages, because I did critique him on some of the stuff he was doing. I don't dislike the guy at all. I love his videos, except his politics and a couple of people he likes that were in politics. I have a different opinion on that than he does. But once again, I don't have to agree with somebody 100% of the time. And I love Mr. W at Tubetown. He's doing a great job, and it's just wonderful what he's doing and getting that town up and going, and as far as people seeing it across this country. Now, I've heard some criticism of him, which is not appropriate to me. I mean, you can criticize, but he is doing this. He has got a positive attitude, and more people need to be more positive like he is. No, he don't live in Otter Creek. And by the way, if I say creek, that's just me talking because I grew up on until the third grade on a place called Badger Creek Ranch. Well, we always said Badger Creek. We know it was creek, but we always said creek. We have in both places I lived there had a creek named Spring Creek. It was always called creek. Even the people from all around that come and fished there, it was always creek. They went up to Badger Creek Canyon, not Badger Creek Canyon, which is the right saying, but I seldom ever heard anybody say that. So if it slips out that way, that's why. When you grow up around that, that's what happens. Now getting back to Otter Creek. Now, Mr. H has did a really, really good job for the people there. I have nothing but the praise for what he has done to bring the bad out. That don't mean I think everything he's done is right, but he needs praise for the good he's done. This town was put in the eyes of going down the right direction because of what he did. Now, him calling people names all the time and criticizing them, making fun of them, I don't really care for that at all. Now, I wouldn't want his neighbors living by me at all because to me, they're not all there. But when you keep pushing and pushing, and things like the other day, that happened there, is going to start happening. And it will not be directly at you, it'll be anybody around him. And you do this to other people, the same thing's going to happen. You may be taking a direct hit at him and nobody else. And I believe that's the way you are. You're just going after him and after her. But when you working with somebody or around somebody that might not be all here, they don't care. They see something, they know that property is yours that Tubetown sits on. They are going to go after whoever. Look at the people in the schools that tragedy has happened. The person that makes fun of the other person isn't the one that winds up in a bad position. It's anybody close. I can see going after them in the court system, and I hope you win every one of them. But when you push stuff like this, and I know there's another guy coming around later on, I won't get into it because I'm not going to shame anybody on here, and I'm not talking about Mr. H either. That you do that to, he may come after you. And you may say, oh, well, let him. But deceptive people will do bad things and they'll figure out things that you don't even think about. Now, to me, that couple there, they have put a bad name on this town. Now, I'm not talking about the two councilmen, former councilmen, they have too. But them two neighbors have made a living hell for everyone around there. And I cannot stand that. That is also being a bully when you do that. You're going after everybody that's you conceive as bad and not having full faculty. You could wind up doing something that is very, very tragic. Now, I know people's going to get all bent out of shape about this, but it's not meant to be. Mr. H has a problem with Mr. C which all is well and fine because they have their own opinions about them and they have the right not to like somebody. Both ways, not one way. But he has a tendency, Mr. H. He criticizes him for doing stuff in town and stuff like that. He shouldn't do this. He shouldn't be doing that. This is not his town. He lives out of town. But yet, if he likes somebody, that is okay. Who cares if you live right in town? When you're in a small town, it don't matter if you're a resident of that town or somebody close by willing to help. I understand the problems you two have had, at least what you've put out there, and that's okay. That don't mean he can't do good. Uh, what I mean by that is when he picks up the trash in that town, he's picking it up and people go, well, he's doing it for views, clicks and views. Guess what? Mr. H is doing it for the same thing purpose. Clicks and views and people give him money. Well, Mr. C don't get that much money. There's no way. But to be offended by somebody that's willing to help in a town, I don't understand that. We always helped each other out. We didn't even have to like the person, but when they was in need where I grew up, you helped them. It didn't matter. You know, God didn't say, if you hate this person, don't help him. I want to know where in the Bible it says that I hate him, so you don't mess with him. As far as people go, now, God may have done that in certain instances, but that's God, not you. God has that right. You don't. And, I mean, it's no big deal if this guy, and like I said, if I lived there, Mr. C, I probably would say hi, how you doing, but I wouldn't be hanging around with him. I wouldn't be hanging around with Mr. H either, because that's just the type of person I am. I'm not going to get involved if I was there with either one of them. So this is something that's I look at as kind of a neutral thing of what I see. I like to see the good in people, not the bad. Yes, there is bad, and sometimes you can't find the good. There's two of them there in town that I really would have a hard time finding the good. Some of the others might be annoying, but I probably could find good. But getting back to the cleanup, he is willing to put out, like when he helps him on the shed and that. You know what? What he got for that scrap, it probably, when you went dollars and cents per hour, he didn't get hardly anything for that. And yet people get on him for helping. And the same people getting on him for helping is doing the exact same thing he is to make a little money. Just because you can't distinguish this guy lives out of town, he can't do nothing. This guy lives out of town, but I like him, so he can do stuff. That's not how the world works, and that's not how it should be. And that's not a criticism of Jeremy because he's high strung and he makes his money and he's good at it. He does the LLCs and that to protect himself. That is a smart person. So I'm not criticizing him like that at all. It's just this stuff does come out. That's like it seemed to pick up when Mr. C removed a boat that Mr. H was complaining about and other cities, people in the city were complaining about. He moved the boat and he never once said who moved it or never said thank you for getting it out of there. It looks better. But if it was somebody he liked, he would have been all over here saying thank you, you did a good job. And you can look through his videos and that does happen. But once again, it's my opinion, not a hate opinion against Mr. H. And like I said, he's did a lot for that town to bring it up to where it needs to be. I don't have to like everything he does. I don't have to like the criticism he puts out there, but I do like him. Now, Mr. C, like I said, he gets on there and does the videos. That's his thing. And you can't believe everything you hear on YouTube. It just don't work. I've seen some of them mechanic stuff he does. I just shake my head. Do it this way. It's easier. And no, I'm not offended by the guy. I'm not. If I was there, like I said, I wouldn't even associate with him that much. I'd say hi, how are you? Which I do that every morning at the coffee shop to people. I don't demean them. I joke around with them. I come home. Now, the guy that has really been a positive thing for Otter Creek is Mr. W. It's on Mr. H's property, but his positive attitude has picked up people wanting to see it. Yeah, it ain't these fancy games that you're going to spend millions of dollars to go play. He doesn't charge anything. Go out there, play, sign his book, and have fun. And that attitude is what is needed for everybody in that town. So there's a few people that don't have that attitude. They should say, hey, look, this is good. Thank you. This guy is even helping with the festival, getting people for booths and stuff like that out of his own will. He's not getting money for it. Yeah, some people on YouTube will probably give him money, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And I'll get back to Otter Creek here in a sec. But that's another thing. Don't accuse me of being on here to make money. I'm on here because I want to be on here. I've been on here for years, but I haven't made very many videos at all. None until 3 or 4 months ago. I'm not here to try to be a great big YouTube star. I'm not here to get thousands and thousands and thousands of viewers. I'm here because I want to be here. And this is an out. And I want you guys to listen to this very closely. My wife has a start of Alzheimer's. She's had it a few years, and she's gotten worse over the past few years. And this is my out. Okay? This is not you guys that think I'm out here to make a bunch of money. It's just not right. Have respect for people around you. You don't have to like them. You don't even have to listen to my videos. But have respect for people. I'm not on here, like I said, to make a bunch of money. I've never made a dime off of this. It is an out for me. When you live with somebody with Alzheimer's, an out is a good thing to have. Okay, that's me. Now getting back to Otter Creek. About said Otter Creek. Mr. W is willing to put time and effort into this festival. Now, Mr. H hasn't talked hardly anything about it, which he hasn't. Mr. C hasn't really brought it up either. The only one I see out there right now, of course, you got a lot of not seeing things going on that's out there publicly trying to get things set up, is Mr. W. And a matter of fact, out of the three YouTubers in that valley, I think Mr. W is number one I'm sorry, Mr. H, you dropped down to number two. I love a positive attitude on here. You can't always be positive, I realize that. But his attitude, even with the neighbors, the things that he's had to put up with, he still has a positive attitude. And I think a lot of people in that small town has a positive attitude. I res- Even though I haven't seen a lot of people, I'm willing to bet that I would respect almost everybody in that town because they seem like really, really good people. They're the type of people I'd like to be around if I lived there. I have nothing against people in that town. I want the best for them. I've suffered in the way, not like they have, but in the way the things they've had to put up with. And I don't like that. Even in towns I've never been to. Because remember, I'm from a small town. I know how some of the thinking goes. And some of the thinking goes, you don't 100% go by what the law says. And you just don't. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, that happens. And I love small towns. I realize, if Otter Creek was bigger, it'd be better. But people love small towns. And there's one thing that I would do if I was them, and this has nothing to do with any certain person there. This has to do with the person's responsibility. If they ever put that toll road through there, it's not going to go through town, but if you're anywhere close to that freeway, you need to look at now, not when it's starting. Look at it now. See if any of this property, that they'll have to take some property, is your one of them that they will take. Have to pay you for it, but like the bridge that Mr. C always goes to, where that's not that big a strip, but a person has bought that. Look ahead, think ahead. Is your property in line for that? Maybe it's years down the road before they'd even do it. But you need to make sure the property you're on is not affected or is affected if they put that road in. Because if they're using the same road, they're going to widen it out. There's no doubt. And they're going to improve the road. But you need to know on that, is your property going to be affected? Because if it is, you can prepare for it. That don't mean you pack up and leave. That, hey, I'm going to lose 10 feet. Okay, they're buying 10 feet from me. Or 20 feet, whatever they would take. But it's something that should be looked at now, not at the end. I appreciate the people in Otter Creek. Like I said, I think I'd get along with 90% or more of them there. Because people from small towns just have a different attitude than people from big towns. That's nothing against Mr. H. He moved in there and tried to change a lot. You can't. You can change some, and you have, and it has improved. And that's a good thank you for helping people out. You didn't need to. But don't expect everybody to have the same attitude as you. They're not your enemy if they're not 100% your way. People are not your enemy as a whole. Yeah, you got two neighbors that are, and I understand why, and it'll be great to get it taken care of. I do understand when it comes to a few things with them and what they was trying to do. I disagree with it, but they were, because I don't like freeloaders. Okay, that don't mean I'm going up and criticize them and make fun of them. I just avoid them. So, and another thing is when you move to a small town, there's certain things you're going to have to accept. You may not want to, but it's going to be that way. You know, it'd be better off if Otter Creek was bigger and maybe it'll get there. But the people of Otter Creek sticking together, having that festival, is the greatest thing they could do. This is a step forward to improving things. The people of Otter Creek, I don't know them, but I know they deserve the best. People are put here on the earth to do the best they can. And Otter Creek people need that. They need the best there is and the respect from other people. Don't get on here and make fun of all of them, whether you know them or not. If they do something wrong, the law will go after them or should. Have respect for everybody in that town, not your select few. And I know when I say that, I don't mean that people like that they're having problems with. But when you have respect for others and the respect in that town, you can say thank you, Otter Creek, for the things you do. Your your actions are across the board, up front, and appreciated. I'm going to say that. Thank you, Otter Creek, and we appreciate you, or I appreciate you. I don't know about anybody else, but I appreciate you. And I realize, if it's right, and I have no doubt that it's probably not right. Miss Rate says there's a drug problem there. And unfortunately, in little towns, that does happen. But it can be controlled and gotten rid of. But you have to have the state involved, you have to have the county involved, you have to have people knowing what's going on for sure. And there could be stuff going on and you're not knowing about it because it's undercover stuff. But if that town gets cleaned up for the ones, I don't know how bad it is, that's even more of a plus. Remember, have prayers for the people in Otter Creek. And thank you, Otter Creek, for the love whenever you see somebody from Otter Creek, the love they have from most people. Thank you very, very much.